Have you ever held on tightly to something? A relationship, a goal, a phase of life, only to be devastated when it changed or ended? That heartbreak arises from a common blind spot, forgetting that everything is impermanent. Centuries ago, Gautama Buddha recognized that clinging to what inevitably shifts fuels suffering. Instead of fighting life's natural ebb and flow, he advised, accepting impermanence as the key to inner freedom. But how do you actually do this in a fast-paced, often chaotic world? Let's explore Buddha's insights on impermanence and the practical ways to find peace in life's constant changes. Defining impermanence, Anicca. Impermanence, known in Pali as Anicca, is one of the cornerstone ideas in Buddhism. It states that everything, material objects, emotions, relationships, even entire civilizations, undergoes change. Nothing stays fixed forever. Buddha observed that when we forget this truth, we latch onto the idea that something, or someone, can stay exactly as it is. Inevitably, when it transforms or disappears, we feel shock or pain. To see impermanence at work, consider the simplest example: your own body. Cells die and regenerate. Hair grays, skin wrinkles. Each moment you shift in ways you often don't notice. Yet you're not the same person you were a decade ago or even a minute ago. Recognizing that nothing is permanent isn't about adopting a grim worldview. Instead, it's an invitation to move with life's rhythms instead of resisting them. The confusion and subsequent suffering arises when we cling to illusions of permanence. Whether it's a job title, a treasured object, or a youthful appearance, we set ourselves up for distress by viewing these as unchanging anchors. Buddha taught that when you align your expectations with reality, that all states naturally shift, you reduce the mental friction that leads to anguish. Why we suffer when things change. From Buddha's perspective, suffering, dukkha, stems largely from attachment and aversion. We crave what pleases us and push away what we dislike. Impermanence intersects with this dynamic in a crucial way. If we believe something pleasing can last forever, or that an uncomfortable situation will never shift, we deceive ourselves. When a cherished relationship ends, for instance, the pain intensifies if you assumed it was locked in place. The end feels like a betrayal of what should have been constant. Similarly, a persistent negative state, like a tough job or an illness, torments us more if we believe it's permanent, blocking hope for better days. Buddha observed that both illusions, eternal positivity or eternal negativity, magnify suffering. Recognizing the unstoppable flow of change reduces these extremes. It's normal to love what's pleasant and recoil from what's painful. The trouble is in forgetting that both are transient. If you cling to today's comforts, you'll resist tomorrow's shift, losing peace. If you despair in today's hardships, you'll overlook that they, too, will shift. By internalizing impermanence, you begin to approach life with a gentler hold, fully experiencing joy without a desperate need to freeze it, and facing challenges with confidence that they also evolve. Buddha's personal awakening to impermanence. Siddhartha Gautama's own life illustrates the power of accepting change. Born into princely luxury, he was shielded from sickness, aging, and death. Yet once he glimpsed these realities, the shell of permanence shattered, propelling him on a quest to alleviate suffering. Through intense meditation, he realized that attempting to cling to youth, health, or pleasure only deepens our pain when life inevitably shifts. This epiphany fueled his middle way, neither extreme indulgence nor harsh austerity, but a balanced approach that acknowledges how everything arises, transforms, and fades. Impermanence is a thread running through all of Buddha's teachings, from relationships and possessions to states of consciousness. By experiencing life as a continuous flow, Buddha found freedom from the anxiety born of wanting everything to remain fixed. Even after enlightenment, Buddha observed monastic routines that underscored impermanence, like daily reflections on aging and mortality. These aren't morbid exercises, but practical reminders. If we know time is limited and change is certain, we focus on what genuinely matters. This acceptance fosters compassion, ethical living, and mental clarity, qualities that endure regardless of the flux around us. How resistance to change fuels stress. Many of us intuitively know change is inevitable, yet we often grip tightly to a partner, a job, or a self-image. This gap between awareness and action sparks stress. We see a loved one's preferences evolve and panic that we're losing them, or watch technology reshape our industry and feel threatened by uncertainty. Buddha would label this friction as attachment. Clinging arises from the false belief that we can freeze time or outcomes to sustain comfort. When reality moves on, the tension accumulates in the form of anxiety, fear, or heartbreak. This doesn't mean we shouldn't treasure wonderful experiences or strive for cherished goals. It means we approach them with an open hand, not a locked grip. A job promotion is exciting, but if you hinge your identity on it, a downturn becomes devastating. Practically speaking, acknowledging impermanence helps you manage transitions more gracefully. Instead of meltdown or denial, you adapt. If you lose your job, you grieve, but you don't fall apart because you never believed that position was an unchanging constant. Letting go of illusions about permanency fosters mental flexibility, making you resilient in the face of shifting circumstances. Embracing impermanence. Finding peace in flux. Embracing impermanence doesn't mean surrendering to apathy. Rather, it's about engaging wholeheartedly with life while recognizing nothing stays static. You enjoy a beautiful sunset, but don't insist it last forever. You handle a conflict at work with the knowledge that this tension too can evolve. Paradoxically, this mindset can amplify gratitude and motivation. You realize each moment is irreplaceable, spurring you to be more present and appreciative. Buddha called this approach non-clinging. Even joys are seen as passing, so you savor them without desperation. Sorrows, while painful, don't become eternal prisons. Embracing impermanence thus fosters emotional balance. You live deeply in each experience without the burden of needing to lock it in place. When an experience wanes, you allow it to depart gracefully, trusting that new experiences will arise. One result is less fear of change. People often dread major life transitions, retirement, moving cities, or children leaving home, because they represent the unknown. Yet with impermanence as a friend rather than a foe, you accept that life is inherently a series of new chapters. Fear recedes as you realize change is the norm, not the exception. Instead of bracing for disruptions, you become skilled at adapting, discovering peace in the flow of life's seasons. Mindful practices to internalize impermanence. Moving from intellectual understanding of impermanence to heartfelt acceptance requires consistent practice. Mindful meditation is a cornerstone. Whether in sitting meditation or walking, you observe breath, bodily sensations, and thoughts. Each breath arises and fades. Each thought emerges and passes, a microcosm of impermanence. You learn not to cling to a pleasant sensation or push away an unpleasant one, viewing them all as transient. Body scan meditations likewise spotlight the body's ever-changing nature. Pain in the knee might intensify, then ease. An itch on the shoulder appears, then dissolves. Noticing these shifts uproots the assumption that bodily sensations are static. Another tool is contemplation of change. Reflect on a memory, maybe a childhood scene or a past friendship, and note how everything has evolved since then. Instead of nostalgia or regret, approach it with gratitude for what was, now replaced by something else. Daily life also provides countless mini-practices. Spot how a mood in the morning differs from midday. Watch a heated argument cool off over hours. If an item breaks, recognize it as part of a natural life cycle. By repeatedly affirming that all phenomena have a beginning, middle, and end, you slowly dismantle the reflex to cling. Over weeks and months, this approach fosters a mellow acceptance that cushions you against sudden upheavals. Practical steps for applying impermanence. Putting impermanence into action goes beyond silent meditations. and there are various tangible strategies you can adopt to integrate Buddha's insight. One approach is regular reflection. Each morning or evening, pick a single event, such as a recent conversation or a lingering physical ache, and mentally trace how it has changed over time, noting any developments, resolutions, or surprises. Additionally, journaling on transitions can be immensely helpful. Whenever you undergo a life change, moving to a new home, switching jobs, or experiencing a shift in a relationship, write down your emotions and observe how impermanence plays a role in what you're learning. It's also important to set realistic boundaries, recognizing that friendships or professional roles naturally evolve. Instead of clinging to how they were, practice adapting your expectations. If a colleague's responsibilities shift, don't mourn the old dynamic indefinitely. Allow room for the relationship to adjust. Another useful practice is gratitude in the present moment, which underscores impermanence by encouraging appreciation of what you have now without assuming it will always stay the same. This can paradoxically heighten your enjoyment of current blessings, since you're aware they won't last forever. Finally, releasing attachments one by one is a powerful way to embrace flux. If you notice yourself clinging, perhaps hoarding possessions or rigidly following certain routines, try letting go in small steps, like donating items you rarely use or changing an ingrained habit. Experiencing how easily you can adapt to new circumstances builds confidence and lessens the fear of life's inevitable changes. How embracing impermanence reduces suffering. Buddha's central promise was that by awakening to reality, particularly the truth of impermanence, you decrease your suffering. Think of how heartbreak can devastate you if you believed love would never shift or fade. Recognizing love's fluidity doesn't cheapen it. It deepens your appreciation and lessens the shock if it transforms. Similarly, when something you dread comes to pass, the knowledge of impermanence helps you endure. You realize that even the bleakest moment is a snapshot in time. This faith in the bigger flow encourages perseverance and emotional resilience. You learn not to label a difficult phase as your permanent fate, but as a passage that can lead to renewed opportunities. On a practical level, fewer illusions about permanence means less mental friction. You no longer waste precious energy lamenting why things had to change. Instead, you're calmer, able to respond resourcefully. Buddha taught that real peace isn't found in stalling life's currents, but in surfing them skillfully. Embrace impermanence, and your emotional load lightens. You discover that a mind aligned with reality effortlessly navigates shifts, adapting without the drag of unrealistic expectations. The law of impermanence can initially seem daunting, but Buddha's wisdom reveals it as a path to deeper peace and resilience. By understanding change as natural, not an enemy to fight, you transform how you experience life's ups and downs. What aspect of impermanence resonates with you most? Feel free to share below. And if this exploration has sparked insights, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Monk Mindset, for more guidance on using Buddhist principles to reduce suffering, nurture gratitude, and confidently face the future. May each moment remind you of life's gentle, ever-shifting flow.